Give the same complex task to two models, and you'll notice something strange. One jumps straight to an answer. Claude pauses, breaks it down, and builds the solution step by step. This isn't just about being better. Claude is behaving differently. The way it builds responses feels more like a process than a prediction. With Opus 4.7, that difference became much more obvious. The model doesn't just generate, it maintains a reasoning path from start to finish. Take a coding problem. Earlier models might give you a quick solution, but miss edge cases. Claude now builds logic, checks assumptions, and corrects itself mid-response. So what actually changed? Not the core architecture, not the idea of token prediction. The change is in how the model controls its own output. If you zoom out, the upgrade looks like this. Better step-by-step reasoning, stronger coding, longer context, and fewer breakdowns in complex tasks. The biggest shift is reasoning stability. Earlier, models could start strong but lose consistency halfway. Claude now holds that logic across the entire response. It also remembers better. Feed it long inputs, and it doesn't just skim, it actually uses that context throughout the answer. In coding, this means fewer random bugs. The model tracks dependencies instead of treating each line in isolation. And maybe the most noticeable change, you see fewer weird failures. The kind where everything looks right until suddenly it isn't. Here's the twist, nothing magical changed. Claude is still predicting tokens, just like every other language model. But the behavior feels different, so what's actually going on? The real change isn't intelligence, it's control. The model is being guided toward structured outputs instead of just chasing the highest probability next word. Most models fail in the middle of complex tasks. They start strong, then drift, contradict themselves, or lose structure halfway through. You've probably seen this. Claude doesn't eliminate errors, but it reduces drift. It stays on track longer, especially when tasks require multiple steps. A big part of this comes from alignment. Claude is heavily tuned to follow instructions precisely, even when the task gets complicated. Human feedback reinforces this behavior. The model learns not just what answers are correct, but what answers feel complete and structured. And here's what's interesting. Even small changes in training can completely change how a model behaves. Same architecture, very different experience. Go back to coding. Earlier models often treat each line independently. Claude tracks the logic across the entire system. That's why the output feels more usable. Same thing with long documents. Instead of forgetting earlier context, Claude carries it forward into later reasoning. That's a big deal. This isn't just a technical improvement, it changes how you use the model. You spend less time correcting it, and more time trusting it. But this comes at a cost. More controlled reasoning can make the model feel slightly slower, because it's not rushing to answer. It can also feel less creative. Models that explore more freely may produce more surprising ideas. Claude plays it safer. Sometimes it's too cautious. When uncertainty is high, Claude may avoid answering altogether. That's alignment showing up again. So this isn't an accident. It's a design decision, prioritizing reliability over raw generation. That's a big shift. We're moving towards something new, controlled intelligence. Not just generating answers, but generating them predictably. That's why Claude feels smarter. Not because it knows more, but because it behaves more consistently. Underneath, it's still probability. But the structure hides that randomness better. That's the illusion. Future models will likely combine both, structure and creativity. Reliable, but still flexible. And we're already seeing this shift across the industry. Reliability is becoming just as important as raw capability. Claude Opus 4.7 isn't just an upgrade. It's a change in how AI behaves. and that changes how we use it. Once you understand this, you stop asking which model is best and start asking which model fits this task. The next time Claude gives you a clean, structured answer, remember, that's not just intelligence. That's design.